Excellent. Hello, this is The Things We Know, and I'm Kari Morin.
And I'm Lisa Callahan.
And we are back with a part 2 of something we started last week, which we could go into so much deeper. We talked last week about diet culture and weight loss a little bit. But really, we're talking about bodies, right? We're talking about bodies and body love and body hate and body neutrality, right? So there's so much more we could talk about from that. And we may go back to that at some point. But today we want to talk about, loving the body you're in and accepting the body you're in, and stop spending so much time worrying about the body you're in and thinking it's not right yet, it's too much or not enough, right?
Yeah. And I think, for the listeners, you and I talk a little bit before we start this. And even in our conversation, I just want a presence for all of these pods. We are a work in progress, as we're discussing what we want to talk about, we're bumping up against our own beliefs and who we are now versus who we were versus also what we're trying to be in the future, like the things we're trying to still climb out of around judgment and that sort of thing. Again, we probably will have many more topics around in this sort of theme, but the reality of it is I'm very happy. We talked about this last time. We grew up with supermodels, and God bless the supermodels. Honestly, they do hold a fun place in my heart. I'm not going to lie. They really do.
From George Michael's video alone, he just celebrated those beautiful people.
Reals. And I will say, I don't remember ever thinking, oh, I wish I knew they were out of my reach. I never expected to look like Cindy Crawford. In some ways, I think kids have it tougher now. That sounds like a little old lady, but because they are seeing their friends, or they're seeing things on Instagram and TikTok that seem like it's their same age. And we're going to do we've got a whole nother piece on that down the way. But so I think they're seeing people that aren't famous. I never expected to be a supermodel, but I think the kids now see people that seem like they're quote unquote normal, the influencers, and they aspire to that in a different way. And the better news, which is we have so many more people like Lizzo and Meghan Trainor and Rihanna, who's at the Super Bowl, fucking pregnant and kicking ass. Holy shit, how lucky are we?
Yeah. And I think there's so many, influencers / celebrities and role models out there that are kind of calling all this out, and talking about how ridiculous and unkind it was for them in those formidable years to be growing in front of the press and have their body talked about and have their appearance talked about. And it did program us. And to your point on the Instagram and the TikTok thing is, it's kind of frightening that this feeling of perfection that that's kind of being thrown out there and really bought as real when it's all filters these days. So, you talked about last week about dysmorphia, and that dysmorphia makes it even harder to love your body, which is what we're here to talk about today. Loving your body, and also, not being preoccupied with your body.
Absolutely. And so what does it mean to be a woman in a body and I'm going to say any kind of women born as a woman, and women identifying, humans identifying as women, because all of it counts. But what does it mean in these times? And then for us at this age, we're both I'm going to be 54. We're 54-ish.
I'm 54 already.
54. You've already made it. I'm getting there. Yeah. And so what does it mean at this age? Like we talked about in the last episode, we were talking about our teens. We didn't really talk about our 20s and 30s, but that's when we were having babies. And so our bodies were changing then. And I loved being pregnant.
I had babies in my 30s, but yeah.
Well, so did I. You're right. I'm sorry. I got married in my 20s. My babies were in my 30s. Absolutely. But then 40s was trying to get back to pre-pregnancy weight and all that. And now, right, we've sort of, I don't know, late 40s to now, we've crossed over into just loving the body as it is. Totally. And that is so... it just opens up space in our heads for so much other stuff. I remember, again, to go back to sort of last week's topic, something I learned in Weight Watchers was that we make 200 food decisions alone a day. Wow. And so we used to talk about if you sort of pre-track your food and this is true of anybody, like if people out there, I'm horrible at this, but lots of people are great at meal planning. And there's a really beautiful part of that because it means you're not spending time and brain power thinking about what you're going to eat next. The same is true in anything you can let go of. It opens up space for creativity, for curiosity, for other things that are more fun than judging our bodies.
That's true.
Right.
I love meal planning. I love organizing and meal planning for that very reason.
You're so
it isn't an issue, right? Yeah. So that you can focus on the things you need to focus on, or you want to focus on, and not constantly be like, you people have to fucking eat again. What are we gonna eat?
Although we did have those conversations during COVID.
Oh, we did. Well, they want to eat again. Yeah. Totally. I think it's just about like, how do you want to spend your life and your time? Right. I think that I saw Emma Thompson on something and I looked it up, and her quote was like, don't waste your time. Don't waste your life's purpose worrying about your body. This is your vessel. It's your house. It's where you live. And there's no point in judging it. Absolutely no point. And it's very hard not to do that. Right. So but are you going to, like, with this precious life you have and the time that you have, spend a lot of time trying to change it or hate it or criticize it and think about it versus all the other things you might want to do or have fun doing, all the people you might want to spend time with, all the things you might want to learn or experience. So it just really begs the question at some point, and you just said something really pointed to that. For me, it's like I really took my body for granted up until the end of my 20s and 30s. I was focusing on having babies, feeding babies, growing babies. That's pretty freaking badass. And I don't think I appreciated it at the time because I felt like I was going through a war with my body. Right. And my 40s, it was just feeling like the sexiest time in my life because I finally had my body back and it was so great. And then 50s come and it is an extension of that. But then I've got that humbling, the humbling thing of the hormonal surge and some things that are just happen to be going on in my life, which a lot of people, late 40s, early 50s are going to deal with, right? But I definitely have, I see it that way, the way you just said it. And I thought, oh yeah. And this is where the test comes. If you haven't fully worked out whatever it is you need to work through, it'll still keep showing up for you. Right. Yes. So yeah, like you said at the beginning, we're still working on this. For me, it's like, do I want to criticize it or do I want to keep seeing it as information that I need? Because what I want in this body is to keep living. I want to keep living. I want to keep being strong. I want to keep being able to enjoy life. I want to keep being there for the people that need me. I have one of my kids who's going to need me for longer than the other will, because, his development is taking longer with his disability. And I want to be here for it. I want to be here to help him thrive and grow. And so it's different now, right? It used to be, we want to be strong, to look a certain way or to feel a certain way about ourselves. And I've worked on that. And I love this body, right? I love it. And now I really want it to, thrive. And I don't think it's going to ever thrive with, just mean talk or like hard work. It's going to be
yourself into a better body.
So I think it's been a really great journey where I just feel like me and this body, we've been through a lot, we've been through a lot. We've got the bonding to prove it. And, like prison bitches or something. I don't know, but we've been through a lot.
My God. No, I mean, I agree. I think that's, how has it changed my life to step into that? I mean, in the five and a half years since I moved to LA, I lost both my parents. It was stressful to move across the country. My kids weren't particularly happy about it. So there was a lot of stress in the first 4 years of being out here. And I logically knew that's why I was carrying the weight I was, and I was trying to be accepting of that. But I do remember there coming a time just about 2 years ago, almost to the date, and I won't explain why I know that, but that I literally thought to myself, like, fuck it, I don't care anymore. This is just my mom had been dead a year, my dad had been gone a year and a half. I was just like, this is what I am, and I this might fall under TMI, but I have a IUD. And so I don't know if I've gone through menopause. I assume I have because I am almost 54. It would seem insane for me to have not to gone through it, but I haven't had a lot of the, physical experiences of it. And so I was just like, this is what everybody told me it was going to be. This is the weight I'm going to be. And it was like the minute I accepted that, the weight started coming off. And then there is this cyclical thing of like, when you accept, then you make different choices.
Totally.
We used, again, to reference Weight Watchers, we used to say, happy people make better decisions. So it wasn't like, so if I was happy with where I was at, then I was going to feed my body better. And if I fed my body better, then I wanted to move more. And if I moved more, I wanted to feed my body better. And it was just like this really great snowball in the direction that made me healthier, and this byproduct of it was I lost some weight, but
That's
ultimately,
awesome.
like, I don't care. That wasn't what I was going for, I guess is my point.
This is not like what our topic's on, but I'm just curious. So I'm going to ask you, did you have any history with emotional eating at all?
Every time somebody eats and they're not hungry, it's emotional eating.
Okay. So yes. Good, fair point. I just was thinking like, yeah, because you're right. Happy people make better decisions. And yeah, like that just also brings up like that tenderness I have for people I know, and including a former version of me, of people who, didn't know how to deal with something. So they turn to food. So it's like,
absolutely.
yeah,
I mean, we eat when we're happy. We eat when we're sad. We eat when we're bored. We eat when
Oh
we're
my gosh.
mad. I mean,
Literally, my kids pointed this out. And again, this is not on our topic. My kids pointed this out earlier on that I totally carried that through until they pointed it out that like, oh, you got a good grade. Let's go get a treat. Right.
Oh, totally. Yep.
And I wasn't really, my kids went to a school, K-8, that didn't even have grades. So when they got into high school and they started to have grades, they were so excited to like go do something about it. Right. And it was short-lived because we laughed about it. We were like, well, let's go for a hike, let's do something else. But and not to make food bad. It was just funny that it was like this, that's just what humans in our culture do. Like you want to get together with people, you eat, you want to, yeah, it's a funny thing. But back to this, I do feel like, what we're talking about here is, and there's different things out there, and some are controversial. So there's body love, right? There's body love, like love the body you're in. And some of it kind of, I love Sonia Renee Taylor. She is a guru. If you don't know her book, The Body is Not an Apology, I really recommend it. She's just absolutely brilliant. She is a podcast guest. I don't even know if she has her own podcast, but I follow her in a lot of different ways. And she just brilliantly talks about how we're all these beautiful vessels, that we are born perfect, right? No matter what size, what gender, whatever we're born to be, that's who we are, whatever we feel we are, however we want to express ourselves. And then we get born into these matrices or paradigms that tell us we should look a different way. Right. And she made a great point that telling us to love the parts of ourselves that aren't gorgeous is also kind of bogus, right? Like love your cellulite. It's like, oh, that's bogus. Like, why don't you just and I think she'd be a proponent of this term body neutrality, or maybe not. Maybe it is just loving your whole being and not focusing on the physical aspects. But I think the whole idea being like, love who you are, and don't, again, we talked about this on the last one, don't take your self-esteem or your worth from external sources. You are beautiful because you exist. You are lovable because you exist, right? That's the idea. Now that's beautiful and then hard to do because we grow up around people who can be judgmental and who buy into this stuff. So why is it important to accept your body? I think, and you and I've learned this a lot in our training, but also just in our experience, your view of your body impacts your choices. Like you just said, happy people make good choices. Your view of your body will affect your relationships and how free you feel to be opening up to people and to be around people. It'll affect your happiness. It'll affect your overall health. If you're stressing and constantly feeling not enough, you'll be amazed what that does to your whole body and to your health, to all your systems. So by addressing and noticing your daily dialogue, I think you're going to start to really notice how mean you are to yourself or how nice you are to yourself. So I would say that's why it's important. It really helps you start having a better, kinder conversation with yourself about everything. And you'll notice it when it's about your body. And if you don't, that's great. If you notice it when it's about your fitness or about your abilities or about how you fit into something or about how you look, notice even if you're complimenting yourself on how you look instead of how you feel, right? It's just an interesting thing. Like, is the appearance thing, and I think we could have a discussion about this. I think it's good to feel good and feel like you look good, right? Yeah. And to try and source that from within. And to also make that not be the only thing. Have how you feel be as or more important than quote unquote how you look, whether it's to yourself or others. I don't know. What do you think of that?
That made me think of that Saturday Night Live, Billy Crystal. It's better to look good than to feel good.
Oh yes, it's you look good, darling. That one.
Yeah, yes. Is it Fernando or something like that?
Yes,
better to look good than to feel good. So I mean, again, it was all over the place growing up, and again, we're a work in progress. I mean, yeah, there are days that I don't feel great, but I might be able to rally and put makeup on and look good,
You're really good at that. You're good at that. Like all during COVID, you're the only person I knew who was so good about like honoring yourself by getting dressed and putting on makeup. And I was like, oh, fuck it.
But let's be clear. There are plenty of days that are like, fuck it for me. But I feel good when I get dressed, when I do my hair. And there are days, and there's potentially could be a pod someday where I'm in a beanie and no makeup, because I also feel good that way, and I actually think I look younger when I don't have makeup on and all that jazz. But I don't know. It's just, I feel better if I have to be in my house 24/7, 365, which for all intents and purposes is still like that because I work from home. Yeah. Cheers to that. It makes me feel better to get up and still have an experience of getting ready. So
I guess the difference is it's like dating yourself or loving yourself, just doing it for you. Like, why are you doing it? And totally. And then back to, I think the definition I found that I liked, which was the difference between body positivity, which I don't think is a bad thing, but I agreed when I heard it put in that way, like love your cellulite. It's like, was I not supposed to love my cellulite? I think that's what I heard on a podcast. But the difference between, body acceptance, positivity, and neutrality. Body positivity encourages you to feel beautiful and love your body at any size. That's not a bad thing. Body neutrality focuses more on how your daily habits make you feel rather than on how you look. I think both of these are good. I know, right? Because I really like the idea, and I really have owned that for a while now. It's like, I don't really care anymore. I feel attractive. My husband, he's awesome. He's always found me attractive at every size. And I've been every size in the journey of having children and all that. It's always like how I feel. If I am really good at protecting time for myself, even just a little bit to move my body, to bathe my body, just the things to just like hydrate and feel like really good about this body that has gotten me through so many things. And I'm so grateful for, I feel sexier. I feel more attractive. And that's all that matters. Because if I feel comfortable in my skin, then I'm way more open to everything and everyone around me. I'm not, I protect.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I mean, it's interesting because I think, the sort of like, how has this changed to feel good in your body? I will say I personally have experienced the energetics of that because I feel good about myself. I feel confident. I feel happy with how I take care of myself. I feel happy with how I put myself together. When I go out, I am having people are coming up to me. Like I was at an event a couple weeks ago with a girlfriend, and we had 4 sets of women come up to us. One was substantially younger than us. And I've since talked to her and she was like, that was
this
highlight.
the art gallery thing?
This was the art gallery where we got to meet
Right.
Jillian Lennon and Steve Jones. I'll throw it right in there, but that was super fun. But so first thing happens, this young girl, I mean, she's probably 25, if that. And she like beelines over to Amy and I, and she's like, specifically Amy, she's like, oh my God, I love your outfit. So the two of us get to talking. I've since talked to her again. And she said, that was the highlight of my night seeing you guys, meeting you two. But then what was even more interesting was later in the evening, we had 3 different sets of women who were older than us come literally beeline over to us and was like, we need to meet you. We saw you walk in and your energy is amazing. And Amy and I were talking about it on the way to the event, that we both are at a place where, and she's big on talking about menopause. She calls it cougar puberty.
That is the best.
These days,
can we have a whole episode on that? Cougar puberty?
Yes, because we will bring
Can we call it puberty?
Yes, we can. We will have to have Amy on because she is a fucking hoot. But anyways, but we were talking about it on the way there of like, we just both are, it could be sort of no fucks left to give, but it's just that sense of like, this is who we are. And so we didn't do anything different than walk into that gallery. We just walked into that gallery and people were flocking to us. We had one woman come up, 2 women, they were together. And the one woman goes, excuse me, my friend's a photographer. We'd like to take your picture. And Amy and I were like, okay. It was so weird and fun. I mean, we laughed all the way home, but we absolutely tie it to the fact of how we are feeling in our bodies, how we are showing up in the world, the space we are taking up. We are not hiding. We are out there.
And we're not apologizing. And
without apologizing. Yep.
And we're not feeling less than. We spent so much time doing that. And I think that's like the most beautiful thing is, like you said, you just got like, this is the size like, this is where I'm at. And I mean, it goes back to one of those things I think that just keeps being true everywhere I look, right? That I learned earlier last fall when I was relearned when I was visiting my aunt in Santa Fe, who I adore. She's a Zen Buddhist. Who used to be a Catholic nun, she's a hoot. And she was sharing with me, it's always a practice, Buddhism. It's always something we're working with. And we really believe that we struggle or we suffer when we don't accept what is, right? When we refuse to accept what is. And that occurred to me when I was like, oh yeah, the stress of the medical ups and downs that my family has been through, plus these hormonal years of menopause has really put on extra weight. But if I just stop resisting it, it's really okay. I'm still stronger than ever. Yep. I still like feel as confident, as beautiful as ever, maybe more so than even, thinner years, because I really am at a place where I no longer make time for things that aren't good for me or healthy for me, or people, that aren't great fit for me to spend my time around. And just the people who drain you. I just love, like, I gravitate towards the activities and the people and the experiences that allow me to be me. And so I think that's it. Like when you stop resisting it, there's so much more to the world than what size you are and what clothes you're wearing and like
black and white
how you look at a bathing suit. Yeah, it's just incredible. It is just so important, and not to discount beauty. I mean, it's great. It's like a sculpture, right? But there's so much more to a person and to your own experience of life when you kind of break out of that feeling of shoulds and just accept the total beauty that you are. And that's something I think Sonia Renee Taylor said beautifully. It's like, you're born a masterpiece. You're a sunset, you're a waterfall, you're a sunrise, and you're believing that you should be a parking lot in a Target. Why? Right.
Yeah.
So like resisting that and, but not resisting like what is, and the body you inhabit allows you to really just experience more joy.
Yeah.
Which I really love.
I love these. You made reference earlier to the idea of dating yourself. And I actually, one of my very first clients, health coaching clients, actually back in the day, who has since written a book about dating herself. I remember so clearly, that was the thing. One of her whys when we started working together was she wanted to enjoy the journey as she lost the weight. And that was, and I just was like, yes, 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 so it just, I guess our invitation around this, and you've got some tips on sort of how to do this, is like anything we share here, just because you know it or hear it now from us doesn't mean it changes or it magically changes overnight, or that you won't fall back into those patterns. I think we said this at the beginning, right? We're a work in progress. Just because we know these things doesn't mean they don't rear their ugly heads in many, many ways. And if you can catch yourself in the negative self-talk, or if you can catch yourself noticing how you look versus how you feel, then reverse it in some ways, or change lanes. And so you have some great tips on how to do that.
Yeah. And I think this is, I'm so glad you said that, because as anything, these are things we know from trial and error and years of struggle. Not that we're, magically expert at it every day, but I will say, these are things that have worked for me, and probably similar for Lisa, and also things I've gleaned just from watching other women who I adore who've overcome this struggle, right? But three kind of really beautiful, juicy tips for letting go of body criticism and kind of stepping more into body acceptance and, body love, right? And moving beyond it is, first, make a list of all the things your body has done and continues to do for you. Oh my gosh, I grew humans. I fed them. I've hiked and run so many miles. Like I'm just so grateful for like all the things my body can do. And when you have, trust me, when you have someone in your life, like I do with my son, who has a body that doesn't always do what bodies should do, the things we take for granted, it's amazing. Like he and I were talking about it. It's amazing that our legs work, that our brains can, recapture things, that we can reach for things. Like there's so many things when he was in a hospital a couple of years ago that we were noticing that other people could not take for granted. And so it's that kind of thing. Really go deep with that. What are all the things that your body does for you every day that you forget to thank it for? So really, truly, like, and I'm not trying to say be grateful, but really just acknowledge by like a list of facts of things that your body has enabled you to do. Second,
let me if I may, just quickly, like what makes me think when you say that is we don't for somebody who is quote unquote healthy, right? In a body that works 99% of the time, we typically don't notice until we hurt something. Like when I hurt my back, I'm like, oh my God, I use my back in so many ways that I didn't realize. Right. And so recognize it, not from that place of sort of pain, but recognizing it in a day and being able to clearly think it through,
I got to find out the name of this song that Samantha, my good friend who I've co-hosted retreats with, she's an amazing fitness and yoga instructor. She used to play a song a lot during workouts that was like, it's great to have a body. I think it was like an African tune. It was like, it was a sort of a chant. It's great to have a body, right? Like that can do all these things. And I think we don't celebrate that enough. So thank you for saying that. Second, surround yourself with people. Also who are fighting the toxicity of anti-aging culture, like my friend Lisa. Where are we here?
I was gonna say you're listening to this pod, so congratulations. You've done number 2.
You're also fighting the toxicity of anti-aging culture and embracing the beautiful sands of time and seeing these lines on our face as like evidence that we've laughed and loved and lived, right? So surrounding yourself with people that know that we're here because it beats the alternative, and that's beautiful and sexy as hell. And 3, and Lisa I think has some great tips on this, but dress in a way that makes you feel comfortable and fabulous. Super important, the fabulous part. I used to say all the time, life's too short to feel frumpy. So beautiful and fabulous clothes that fit and help you feel good.
Yeah, I mean, this is where we started a little bit diverge before we started, but and full disclosure, nobody can see me, but I'm in a very big dress right now. it's like an 80s dress with the drop waist and I'm comfortable and whatever. And that's the thing, like be comfortable. And also, don't, if I find real value in wearing clothes that fit. That's what I'm going to say. I think oftentimes when we're not in love with how we look, we tend to go frumpy, right? And there is real value in wearing form-fitting clothes. Form-fitting clothes on a gorgeous body, regardless of size, always looks amazing. And, there may be days where you want to wear sweatpants and a big sweatshirt. I have a ton of those days. And I also really like to be dressed. We've already, I guess, established that in the pod. So
you are gorgeous and you inspire me. And sorry, my dogs are barking.
That's okay. And you're not talking about your feet.
No, I'm not. I have little dogs that are barking. I love how I feel in my favorite clothes. And I think that makes a big difference on how I feel in my body.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, I think all the curves, all of it. I mean, again, we harken back to Lizzo, like she looks fucking amazing all the time. And there would have been a year when we were young, where people would have had a shit fit at the way she dresses. And now she just comes out there and owns that shit. And I love it. I love her so much. I can't even begin. God, if we could get her on the pod, how fun would that be?
That would be amazing. Yeah, I do. I love the audacity of red lipstick and wearing whatever the fuck you want. It's just amazing. And it is truly an invitation for us to just love that, love that and find it in our own way, for sure.
Yeah. Do you have anything else before I do our song for the week?
No, that's it.
So ironically, we said there'd be lots of 80s rock references or musical reference. I guess we didn't say rock because I'm mostly British. Let's just be very clear. My tastes run towards 80 Britpop, but it was hard to find something from the 80s. Like I really couldn't.
That's really telling.
Right? Totally is. So we went, maybe obviously, but this is such a good song, All About the Bass from Meghan Trainor. So the quote this time is, "Yeah, it's pretty clear. I ain't no size 2, but I can shake it like I'm supposed to do. Cause I got that boom boom, all the boys chase, and all the right junk in all the right places." Here's the one. "I see the magazines working that Photoshop. We know that shit ain't real. Come on now, make it stop." And there's actually a song on Damn from Kendrick where he talks about not wanting to see Photoshop, wanting to see cellulite. I love that line too.
I do too. I love Kendrick so much.
Oh my God, I love Kendrick Lamar. Men don't care. And if they do, you don't want them in your life. But I mean, like, men don't want that Photoshop bullshit. They just don't.
That's true. That just reminded me, like, way back. I cannot even remember what this was from, but I wish I did. It was like, you think they're, wanting some supermodel. They're just happy a naked woman's in their bed.
Totally.
They're like,
hey, boobs. Oh my God.
I don't know where that's from.
No, but it's brilliant.
Yeah. Gosh. What brilliant women have to bring the world when they stop thinking about their bodies and just start loving them.
Yeah.
So amazing.
And we're so lucky to have those women out there with a platform to counteract the shit that's still out there. And you know what? The reality of it is, it's that some form of this is going to be around forever and ever. We can't cure this by any stretch, but I love that we have something to look at now that is different from heroin chic, supermodels, filters, all that bullshit.
Yeah. And don't resist it. Just defy it.
Own it.
All right.
I love it.
This is, again, things we know, and we'd love to hear what you know and have to say about this. And we would love for you to join the conversation on our Facebook page, The Things We Know Podcast. So find us there, and maybe we can drop some other quotes and things that we were referring to here, so you can add to it.
Yeah, please. If you have a favorite quote around owning your greatness and body positivity and all of that, we would love to see it, because that Facebook page, The Things We Know Podcast, is meant to be community. That we don't want to be the only voices in the room. We would love to hear what you have to say, and let's Keep it respectful, clearly, because we are the admins of that, but we want everyone to join in on the conversation. So please join us over there. But for now, I guess that's the things we know. I'm Lisa Callahan.
I'm Kari Morin, and we will see you next time.
Thanks for listening.
Thank you.